Hey guys, my name is Eric, and today I'm going to be doing a rant about what your mindset should be like for the end. Go ahead and roll the intro. Hey guys, thanks for checking out another HatchetCast episode. And today I'm going to be talking about the mindset that we need to have if we're going to be able to endure through the end of days. Before we get started, make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button. Also, if you get something out of this episode, please share it with somebody that you know would benefit from this channel, and that would be a huge support to the work that we do here at Barrel and Hatchet. Also, if you are looking for any type of gear or things that you're looking to pick up to be able to be more prepared, click the links in the description, and we have a bunch of build lists and equipment that we use here that you can go see on the website, and it's a great way to support the channel. Guys, today I'm going to be doing more of a rant about mindset that we need to have for the end. And this has honestly been a message that I've needed to hear for myself, that I've really been kind of meditating on these things. And it's honestly been to be able to deal with all the pressures and the anxieties and the stress of what's happening globally. So go ahead, pull up a chair, and let's get into it. So in the past couple of weeks, we have had so many events happen that it's almost like every day is a new crazy chapter in history that is just unfolding right before our eyes. And what's insane about it is that there's so many things happening so quickly at such a fast pace that a big event will happen, and then the next day another big event will happen, and the last big event or the last two big events that happened get put on memory hold. And so it's kind of good to be able to take a step back and look and see what has happened in the span of time that we've had this year alone. And that will help us to get some intel and be able to kind of guesstimate where we're going to be headed in the future. You know, just in the past few weeks, we've had a couple of assassination attempts on a prior president. We've also had a hurricane that has really caused a lot of devastation in areas that nobody really thought or prepared for that type of devastation. You know, in North Carolina, who would have thought that a hurricane, Category 4 hurricane, would go up into the mountains and destroy and completely wipe entire towns off of the map? I mean, nobody really could have guessed that. And what's really cool about it is to see that not the government, but the American people coming together to be able to provide rescue and aid to those people and those citizens in those areas that were affected by the storm. The other thing that we also had is that Iran shot over 200 missiles into Israel, and Israel is actually beginning a ground invasion into Lebanon and Beirut. We have all of these things and activity that's happening in the Middle East. We had Russia has recently just taken over Volodar, and Russia and Ukraine, that battle is still raging on, and there's actually more funding going now to Ukraine. So that war isn't going to be closing anytime soon. We've got our world leaders that are pushing a nuclear rhetoric and playing Russian roulette with nuclear weapons and threats, and continuing to escalate on the escalation ladder, or that threat ladder, and crossing red lines on both sides. And so, it's one of those things where, for myself and for my family and for my friends and the community here on this channel, it's like, well, what do we do? What do we do to kind of prepare for that? One of the things that I think is a physical thing that we can do to prepare is training. I know it's like beating a dead horse. I know it's cliche, but it is so important, especially right now in these times where we still have the ability to go out and train. It is so important. And obviously Barrel and Hatchet does training, but don't just take Barrel and Hatchet classes. Go out there to other instructors as well, and don't become stuck in an echo chamber, and go and take classes from other good instructors. There are so many great instructors out there. There are so many guys who have been really good at their craft, that hone that craft down to a very fine tip, and can really do a good job of teaching you that knowledge. There's a difference between good shooters and good instructors, and there are a lot of good instructors who are great shooters. And so being able to know some of those guys, myself personally, and to work with them, they have a lot of knowledge that they can give to you. And it's so important that right now you go out there and you go train. And when we train our skills, we also need to make sure that we're training our body as well. So going to the gym, going and staying physically fit, eating a clean and healthy diet. Another thing is also not looking at screens all the time. We are a society that is completely glued to the screen, and the blue light that comes off that screen really jacks up with your hormones. It jacks with all of your different systems you have in your body, and all that blue light going into your eyes is not good for your brain. It's not good for your health and your development. So make sure that you're kind of limiting that screen time as well. Even if you've been watching screens for a really long time, if you have to, turn this episode off and just turn the screen off and go spend time with family, or go read a book, or go out and do something. Go out and get some sun. It's one of those things where we need to start thinking about all of the ways that we can make sure that our body is in tip-top shape and has the skills necessary to be able to last and protect and be an asset to people at the end. What's interesting is that, looking at the hurricane that happened in North Carolina and hit Tennessee and flooded a lot of parts of Florida, is there are a lot of people who have gathered a lot of preps, or gathered a lot of things, or maybe stashed away some money, or stashed away some precious metals, or was saving up ammo and saving up food and supplies. And all of a sudden, this storm comes out of nowhere and washes literally all of it away. You see people's entire lives washing down the side of a mountain. What do you do? What do you do for something like that? The one thing that can't be taken away from you is your skill set. The more skills that you have, the less equipment that you will need. Can you survive? Can you go out and start a fire? Can you go trap small game? Can you hunt big game? Can you, if for whatever reason you get caught in a natural disaster, you get caught where you're away from home and the only thing you have is your EDC, and you're stuck out somewhere for a few days, can you hunt with your pistol? Can you make a shot with your pistol at distance to be able to get close enough to an animal to be able to take it down, to be not hungry for days by being able to catch something, even if it's a gun or a weapon that's not suited for that type of hunting? These are things that we need to think about honing our skills that we have. One of the other things that I will say in regards to equipment, the flip side of that coin, is continuing, even though there's a chance that a hurricane could come and wash all that away, with our skills should be a primary thing that we invest in. Our preps and our supplies and equipment should be secondary as far as your investment. Looking for ways to be able to make yourself less vulnerable no matter what happens with the economy, or to make yourself less vulnerable if the supply chain starts to dry up. Having gas on hand, having a lot of food on hand. First, investing in your skills. Second, investing in your preps and your supplies. Having enough equipment. And guess what? Any extra equipment that you have, or any extra rifles or weaponry you might have, could be utilized to outfit family members that don't have anything, you know, or people that don't have something in your neighborhood, and you guys build a community and you're like, hey, I got extra gear, I got extra kit. You know, having extra stuff is always a good thing, especially if we're trying to protect our rights and protect our rights as citizens. It's always good to have a lot more equipment out there and a lot more tools out there, because it's a lot harder to be able to enforce things when so many people have so much equipment. And so a well-defended and a well-equipped population is a very strong population that can advocate for peace, because now we have two sides that have the capability to be able to stand strong and say, hey, let's talk and sit at the table and think about this. If you think about this also, there's a lot of places around the world where they don't have that luxury. And so it's important for us to also think about how we can prep our equipment, prep our foods and supplies and weaponry and things of that nature, to also be able to equip others and to look out for others who might be in need. And it's a perfect opportunity whenever that pressure cooker of life starts to, you know, build up. There's gonna be a lot of opportunity for you to be able to help people who really could use it and have literally no hope because they haven't prepared. And I get it, you know, they should have prepared. But guess what? If you're watching this video, you're probably one of those people that people are gonna have to rely on, because you are prepared, you're ready, your mindset is honed, your skills are sharpened. And so this is where we need to encourage our friends and our family members to also try and pursue the same type of lifestyle. The last thing is going to be about mindset, in terms of how do we make sure that we have continuous hope and not lose sight of what is good and moral in our society. The first thing that we can do as far as our mindset is make sure you don't put your hope in politicians or organizations or government systems. And so, you know, this was something that really challenged me and something that I was really stewing on for a long period of time. And, you know, it's something that I've really been meditating on a lot, and I want to share this with you. There's a story in Matthew chapter 22, 15 through 22. And I'm going to go ahead and read you that story. So in this story, the Pharisees, who were the religious leaders of the day, went and plotted how to entangle Jesus in his words. And they sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians. Now, if you look back in history, the Pharisees were very pro, you know, Jewish state. They were very pro-Israel. At the time, Israel had been conquered by the Romans. And so there was a lot of animosity amongst the Jews against the Romans because they were their conquerors. And so the Pharisees were always advocating for Israel and advocating for the return of the king that would save the Jews. And so they were more of the conservative side. The Herodians were the people in Israel who were kind of like, hey, let's work with Rome and let's, you know, almost more of the left-leaning type side. And what's crazy is both the Herodians and the Pharisees, the left and the right, came to Jesus to be able to try and trick him in his words with this almost trick parable or trick question. And they sent their disciples along with the Herodians, saying, "Teacher, we know that you are true and teach the way of God truthfully, and you do not care about anyone's opinion, for you are not swayed by appearances." So they're trying to butter him up. "Tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" Now understand, this is a multi-layered question. This is a multifaceted question that these groups are trying to ask Jesus. It's actually really well crafted, because if Jesus says, no, you should definitely not pay taxes to Caesar, then the Pharisees and the Herodians can go to Caesar and tattle on him and be like, see, Jesus is against Rome. He's trying to cite an insurrection. He says don't pay taxes, blah, 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 blah. If he does say, yes, you should pay your taxes to Caesar and submit to Rome, then he would lose heart of the Jews, because the Pharisees would go out and tell all the Jews and the Israelites saying, hey, see this Jesus guy? He's not for you. He doesn't care about you. He belongs to Rome, and he's a puppet and a stooge for Rome. He's telling you to submit. And so you have Jesus being put in this precarious situation, which he doesn't even really care about. But it is a pretty complex question that's trying to discredit him. And then so they ask and says, tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? But Jesus was aware of their malice and said, why put me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin for the tax. This is very, very interesting. And they brought him a denarius. And Jesus said to them, whose likeness and inscription is on this? And they said, Caesar's. And then he said to them, therefore render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. When they heard it, they marveled, and they left him and went away. And so, with this parable and with this statement, what's fascinating is I've done this myself, is I will take, imagine a big circle. And in that big circle, it said God's things. And inside that big circle, there's a smaller circle that says Caesar's things. Understand that government is still under God. God is in control of everything. God is supreme. He has control of everything. And government is given a small portion of that control, almost like a babysitter. But we have to remember that no matter what happens in this upcoming election or even if there is a tyrannical power or things of that nature, understand that government doesn't have the ability to give you salvation. Government doesn't have the ability to bring you hope. Why? Because governments in human history have always been corrupt, and they've always wanted to look out for themselves, and they are corrupted by sin. So you have to ask yourself, I've had to do this for myself, am I expecting some politician or a political party to be able to solve all my problems? If so, I shouldn't be, because the only one who can solve all my problems is God. And is that political party going to bring me salvation? Do they truly care about me? Do they truly love me? And you have to think about it, because I had to think about it. No, I don't think that they do at all. In fact, they don't care. But there is someone that does care, that knows you by name, that knows every single circumstance that you're going through, that knows everything that you're dealing with, all the insecurities that you have, the doubts, the fears, the pains, the hurts that you've gone through, the traumas that you've gone through in life. There is someone who has complete control over your life and knows every detail about you and is willing to also help you through that. And it's not the government. It's not a political party. There's no one political opponent or one political figure that's going to bring you that hope or cares about you in that way. But God does. And so whenever things collapse or a government system goes away or there's a violent transition of one government system to another government system that we've seen throughout human history, it's so important to remember that God is in control. And what I've done for me in my life is I have taken that big circle and I've put Caesar's things on the big circle and I've put God's things in the little circle and think that God only gets a small part of the pie, and the government and the world and all the things that are in it and all the man-made organizations and structures are that big piece of pie. And I have to remember that God is the one in control. God is the one that is supreme. God is the one, Jesus is the one who is going to give you salvation, who can willingly forgive you for the things that we've done. I've done so many terrible things in my life, and guess what? He is so ready and willing to forgive. I even have a hard time forgiving people, I think we all do, but God doesn't. He has a willing heart, willing to forgive you today, right now. And not just forgive, but also love you as you're going through the hardships of your life. And this is the mindset that I think that we need to have, is not to have our hopes and dreams wrapped up in political systems or governments or human organizations or human beings or politicians or sides or whatever. All of that will fail you. All of that will fail you one day. And it doesn't love you. God loves you, man. God loves you. And the church and the people and the Christian brothers and sisters and the people in this community, we have to look out for each other. Just like the American citizens up in North Carolina are looking out for the people who are affected by that disaster out of the love of their hearts, out of the care that they have for their fellow man. They are going and providing that aid. Not the organizations that should be doing it, but the ones that are standing up are the ones that truly care. And I believe that God is using people like us. God is using people in this industry. God is using people like you to be able to provide hope to the lost, to be able to provide love for people who are going through life's worst trials. There are people in other places in the world that don't have the freedom to speak or the freedom to worship the Lord or the freedom to even be able to do something like this. And probably in other countries, they probably wouldn't even be able to allow to watch content like this. but yet they hold on. They don't have very much in terms of physical things. They don't have very much food or a lot of clothing, or maybe they just have, like my brother, he lives in another country where it's very, very third world, and his wife's family, all the siblings, they only have one pair of clothes. One pair of clothes. In fact, when my brother married this girl, he bought them all bridesmaids dresses for very cheap, but it was really nice over there, but here we would be considered cheap because they don't have a lot of money over there. And dude, they wear those bridesmaids dresses every day. It's the only clothes that they have. And so we have so much to be thankful for in this world. We have so much to be thankful for the things we have in our lives, for the people and the family members that we have. And what we need to do is have the mindset of love and enjoy the time that we have with them. Enjoy the time that we have here on this earth. Enjoy the time that we have with each other, and enjoy the time that we can able to watch content like this, and that I'm able to be able to pour out my heart to you guys and to serve you guys. This is something that I enjoy, is being able to allow the Lord to utilize this channel to bring you guys hope. It brings me hope, man. It brings me joy and peace, and that is the whole point of all of it. If we have the mindset to be able to live to serve other people just like Christ lived to serve us, and to love us, and to be willing to forgive our fellow man and look out for people that are in need, man, I'm telling you, there's also going to be a reward for that one day. After this life, when this life is done with and over with, and we're standing with the Lord, He's going to look at you and He's going to say, well done, man. Great job. Look at you with pride, and He's going to give you that reward. And that's an investment that will never get washed away. There's no storm, there's no war, there's no circumstance that can get rid of that. That reward is for you from God, and it's an eternal reward that never goes away. And that is worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for other people. It's worth fighting to be able to give love to others. And so, guys, I know I was just rambling a lot, but it goes back to, what do you fight for? What do you live for? What kind of mindset will you have in the end when everything is gone? All the comforts of life are stripped away. Your government organization, or your political person, or your side, or whatever, globally, it doesn't matter who or what organization, doesn't work out. Will you still have hope? Will you still have that hope and knowledge and foundation that Jesus will provide no matter what the situation is here on earth? Do you have the skill sets to be able to protect other people? The skill sets to be able to provide food from your family, even if you don't have any food stores or supplies? Can you utilize the earth and the environment that you're in to be able to procure food? Do you have the ability to protect people from harm? And also, do you have the supplies that God has given you, that God has blessed you in your life? And what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with those supplies? Are you going to keep them for yourself, or are you going to use it to be able to help other people who are in need? This is the mindset we need to have for the end. This is the reason why we buy equipment. This is the reason why we train. This is the reason why we prep. It's all for serving other people, because no one's going to be there for you as far as an organization or a system. All we have is each other. All we have is this community. And God will guide us through it. God gives us the Bible. You want to know who God is? The book that has lasted through the ages, the Bible, tells you everything you need to know about God. And I'm telling you, the entire book is about love and redemption. And it took me a long time to figure that out. So guys, I want to challenge you, be hospitable to other people. If you haven't had anybody over your house, you're more of a recluse, or you really haven't had the time or whatever, I challenge you to be hospitable to somebody in your life. Whether that's bringing them a meal, whether that's having someone over for dinner, whether that's going and just saying, hey, let's go hang out, Find opportunities to go out and to love other people in your life and affect change and bring goodness through Christ to other people in your life. I give you that challenge, just like I'm going to challenge myself. So guys, I want to read you one last verse. And it's a truth that we can stand by. And it's in Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will hear you. You will seek me and find me. when you seek me with all your heart. Guys, go out, love your fellow man, continue to train to be the eternal asset. My name is Eric, and I'll see you on the next one.